Today we are going to be discussing the difference between fission and fusion. Fission is going to be the splitting of a heavy nucleus, just a heavy atom, into two lighter products. So this is the type of radiation that we've already discussed, alpha, beta, and gamma. And I have one initial element and I'm breaking into multiple pieces. That's going to be fission. Whereas fusion is going to be basically the opposite, where I have two or more light nuclei and they are going to fuse together and they're going to combine into one single element, one single product. And that product will have a greater mass than the initial products individually. So an example of fusion, we have two hydrogen atoms here, and they fuse together to produce helium. Now again, we still have to have that law of conservation of mass, so the total mass, 2 plus 2 is 4, and my total protons, 1 plus 1 is 2, okay? So I still maintained my law of conservation of mass, but this fusion is something that fuels our sun, it fuels the stars, this is how we get light, and this is how we get pretty much every single element. Okay, some uses for fission. Nuclear power plants. As humans, we are not good enough at creating some sustained fusion, so instead we use fission. This is the falling apart nuclear reactions, and we use the energy that is released from fission reactions. It heats up water, it allows us to get some energy off of that, and that's how nuclear power plants are able to produce energy for us. We also use fission for things like carbon dating. This is how we know how old something is, and this is just based off of fission and half-life and knowing how long it will take for a certain number of unstable carbon atoms to undergo fission and decay into something more stable, and we're able to carbon date based off of our understanding of fission. And finally, we have warfare. This is the bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. These are things that people use in dirty bombs. Unfortunately, fission is not clean and only used for good stuff. Fission can be used for violence. Fusion, on the other hand, is something that we are not very good at on the planet Earth, but it is known for creating every element up to iron. Okay, so in the sun, in our stars, we have fusion reaction after fusion reaction after fusion reaction until we get to the heavy element of iron, at which point the star cannot sustain the amount of energy that it needs to keep up and keep fusing. So the sun will either die or it will explode. Either way, fusion stops. And that's how we get that dispersal of all of those elements. Again, like I said, star fuel up here. This is how the sun and other stars create the burning, light-giving heat source that we rely on every day. And finally, we do use fusion for some scientific discovery. We have created some unsustainable fusion in which we have observed some signs that hint to the existence of something called the Higgs boson. Now, this was a huge deal when this was discovered, and we have been able to fuse on the planet Earth. We're just not very good at it, but we have used it for scientific discovery before.